part of my remediation was to go to Ranger School. It's not as hard as BUD/S, but Ranger School's hard, man. I mean, my hat's off to any guy out there who's graduated Ranger School or gal. And I did not want to be there.
Yeah.
You know, I had a bad attitude when I showed up in February. Like I said, I kind of drank my way through the holidays with a bad attitude, still not totally owning what had happened and not seeing it as an opportunity to grow and get better. Still had that victim mindset. In Ranger School, I got there, and on day 3, we had the land nav course. I had taught land nav. I failed the land nav course. There's more details to this, but we'll keep it short for now. All of this is in the book, The Trident. But I failed the land nav course. The instructors, there's a lot of good and maybe not so healthy rivalry sometimes between different special operations groups. And I think the Rangers and SEALs have pretty good rivalry going. So the instructors loved the fact that I had quit and were giving me a lot of, or that I had failed the land nav course, and were giving me a lot of grief about it. And I think all that pent up anger and frustration and humiliation blew up. And I told those guys where they could take the course. And they were like, "Are you quitting?" And I was like, "Yes, I quit," which is the only thing I've ever quit in my life. And I was so ashamed after the fact. But I was like, how do I undo this? Like, I have now crossed the red line that is undoable.
Right.
So they told me I had to go meet the Ranger Colonel. I accepted that my career was over. But when I met with the Colonel, KK Chin, amazing guy, went on, finished his career as a Major General, just an amazing, amazing guy who I owe my career to. Once again, he recognized, hey, you're not malicious. You're young, you're immature. You made a very bad decision based on emotion and based off everything that happened. And he said, why don't you, do you want to talk to anybody in the SEAL teams? I was like, hell no, man. Like, the last thing I want to do is talk to anyone in the SEAL teams and admit what I've done. And he said, well, here, I've got a good friend. And he picked up the phone, and it was my old commanding officer who had got me commissioned, who now was in charge of all East Coast SEAL Force, the most respected leader in the SEAL teams. And there was no way I couldn't take that phone. And another amazing God moment. Yeah. Because what are the odds? What are the odds that that guy, and I've confirmed this, I've become friends with KK Chin, and he told me, no, it wasn't. I literally dialed him, and he answered. I mean, it wasn't like pre-planned or anything like that. But I remember telling him on that call, I said, hey, there's no way I can there's no way I can recover from this. Like, I've messed up too much. Like, the guys don't want to follow me. Now I've done this. Like, this is the nail in the coffin. And he gave me the foundation of every bit of leadership that I now teach and the way I try and live my life. He said, Red, he said, people will follow you if you give them a reason to. He said, you need to go crush Ranger School. And then you need to come back to the SEAL teams and give the guys a reason to follow you. He said, that's all leadership is. He said, I don't care how bad you've messed up. It's human nature that people will follow individuals who are successful and who are doing good things, just who we are as humans. I mean, I don't care how bad somebody's messed up. If they made a 180 change in their life and they are consistently successful, humans are going to follow them because we all follow success. And he said, get back in that course, finish it, and come back and show these guys why they should follow you. So I remember I was like, roger that. So I remember hanging up the phone and looking at Colonel Chin saying, can I get back in my class? And he goes, no, absolutely not. He said, you're out of your class, can't get back, but we'll send you to Ranger School jail for the next month, and you can class up with the next class and start again. And that month was probably the best thing that ever could have happened to me. I mean, it was very humbling. For a month, I walked around Fort Benning picking up trash. So here I was, this 13-year successful SEAL, officer, officer, combat veteran. And I was, the thing in Ranger School, nobody wears rank, as it should be. So it gave me a lot of time to really, for the first time in my life, to come to grips with, hey, you're not as great as you think you are. Yeah, man, you like need to humble yourself. I started reading a lot of leadership books while I was there at night, and really chose to change how I drove forward and led from that point forward. So came back to my next Ranger class, crushed it. Actually, it was my goal to graduate the Honor Man. And I was tracking for that until about 5 weeks in, I came to find out that rollbacks can't be Honor Man. It's only first time through. So that's okay. I received super high marks from all my Ranger School. One of the things I like, I know they've incorporated this into BUDS. They didn't when I went through peer evaluations. I think peer evaluations are a very powerful thing because you can have people who, in Ranger School, we called them Spotlight Rangers, who, when they were under the spotlight, because Ranger School, you have graded positions, and then you have times where you're not in a graded position. So you can slack off when you're not in a graded position. And oftentimes guys would do it, and they would be called Spotlight Rangers. But they would get peered, and they would say, hey, this guy's a piece of shit. He only steps up when it's time to lead. He does nothing. So those peer evals meant a lot to me as a guy who had screwed up, to have these guys who didn't know me from Adam, that I was under the spotlight, hey, I was the only SEAL in the entire Ranger course, for them to say, hey, this guy's done a great job.
Yeah.
And came back to the SEAL teams, and it started all new because no one cared that I had graduated Ranger School. There wasn't anyone there that was like, Red, you're a Ranger now, bro. We're so glad.
Very impressed.
If anything, they were like, oh, great, Ranger Red's here.
Yeah.
Actually, what they called me was Rambo Red. That's what I heard a lot more. That was the nickname I had gotten from Afghanistan. But I applied the principle: lead yourself, lead others, lead always. With the fundamental number one thing to focus on is leading yourself. How do you show up prepared, mentally, physically? You've educated yourself on all the different pieces of what you're going to be doing. And I think as leaders, we often, I think the first go around, I was so much more focused on leading others. Mm-hmm. Like we've seen it. We've seen these leaders that come in and immediately they need to hey, I'm the leader, so I must lead. I must, and they're starting to implement things that they really have not developed camaraderie and rapport and an understanding of the unit or the company or any of these things. And lead yourself first. 75% of leadership is that. And that's what I focused on. And slowly over the next year or so, I started, guys would start to come up to me and say, hey man, good job on that evolution. Well done.
Guys, I'm a lifelong athlete. I've tried all kind of things, from every different diet, from all different supplements, tons of different things to make my body as healthy and as functional as possible. I heard about BioPro years ago from jiu-jitsu athletes, from UFC fighters, and they're all friends of mine who I trust that were telling me, you have to try a BioPro, and I did. I experienced a tremendous result, mostly in my sleep, to where I was sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night, to where I immediately went to sleeping 9 hours a night. BioPro has helped my recovery, my mental focus. I am a believer. I love it, or I would not be promoting it. If you're interested, go to bioproteintech.com and get yours